Hey, playa, have you ever wanted to start a conversation with someone or continue one, but your mind went totally blank? You ran out of things to talk about, and because of that, the person you were talking to just lost interest. If you run into this situation before, don't worry. I've created a structure that you could start using whenever you have conversations to avoid awkward pauses, to avoid dead silences, and to feel comfortable in every word that you say to them. While I believe that conversations should be natural and flow organically, that's not always the case. Sometimes you just don't know what to talk to that person about, especially if they're giving you one-word answers or not really giving you enough to work with. Don't worry, let's look at this chart, it's going to help you out. If you don't know what to talk to them about, start with an icebreaker question. These are easy go-to questions that you can pull as resources to just get a conversation going somehow, some way about something interesting. Side note, I've put together a list of 20 icebreaker questions that I personally have prepared that I think could be super helpful for you. I'm going to share that resource at the end of the video. Let's walk through the rest of the chart though. Once you ask that question, there are two things that you can do to help supplement it to hopefully get a better response back from that person. The first is to give a reason for asking. You might want to say something like, me and my friend were having a conversation about this and I'd love to get your opinion. And the second is to tie it to a personal story. You might want to say something like, well, I was just thinking about this for myself, but I'd love to hear your take on it. By adding either of those two pieces, you've now taken a generic question and made it way more personal. So when they do respond, that's going to give you the opportunity to move on to the next stage. Whatever it is they say, the best thing you can do is to start to go deeper into their answer. This is where most people actually run into the most issues because they ask a question, they get an answer, and they don't really know where to go from there. How you can do that is by highlighting a detail in their answer. Where does it actually take place? What time does it take place in? Who's involved in the answer that they gave? Maybe they talked about their friends or their family member or something that's deeply personal to them that happened a long time ago. And when you've zoned in on that detail and you've asked them a more specific question related to it, that's going to show them that you're really paying attention to what they're saying. You're not just asking them random questions like it's an interview, you genuinely care about what they have to share. Or you can ask a related question that's tied to the theme of what they're talking about. If they mention a certain team that they like, a certain food they enjoy eating, a certain place they'd love to visit, that opens up the doorway for other teams, other things that they like, other places that they visited that you can also ask them about. And as you're navigating that conversation, the goal is to start getting personal. You really want them to see that you're paying attention to what they have to say, that you care enough to ask follow-up questions, and you care enough to share more about yourself, which is going to lead to the two next options that you can take here. The first thing you can do is to connect with their answer. Let them see that whatever it is that they're talking about affects you on a deep and personal level. Maybe they're talking about a movie that they watched growing up that they're nostalgic for, or maybe they're talking about a place that they one day want to visit. Let them see that you also have similar hopes and dreams and that you can relate to the thing that they're sharing. And the second thing you can do is to ask more about the feelings they have that are tied to the answer that they're giving you. You might even want to imply a certain feeling that they have and give them the space to either agree with you or disagree with you. Normally though, this is where conversations start to end. You've gotten all that you could out of that icebreaker question, you've asked follow-up questions, you've asked for details, you've tied it to stories. Yeah, you've done it all. So what do you do now? Well, there are actually 3 steps you can take to bring energy back into that discussion. Number 1, remember how we talked about identifying a detail in their story? Well, there's more than one detail that you can follow that thread with. So think about other specific things that they talked about and shared that you can ask them follow-up questions about, even if it's no longer tied to that icebreaker conversation starter. The second thing you could do is to reflect on something that they shared. When we talked before about asking a related question, there are still tons of more related questions you can bring into that conversation to really keep it going. And the third step you can take, if you feel like the conversation has come to an end and you don't really want to continue it anymore, end it on a connection compliment. This is going to allow that person to feel like the conversation was worthwhile, that the two of you really connected, and that hopefully you could do it again in the future. Now at the very beginning, I mentioned a resource that I have, which is my Icebreaker Conversation Starters Guide. It's a free guide I've put together with 20 icebreaker questions that you can start using. I break down follow-up questions, I break down how to dive into different topics. I kind of do a lot of this flowchart work for you in this guide. So check it out, download it. I think it's going to be super helpful, and I'll catch you next time. As always, love and peace.